Okay, so it seems appropriate to do a follow-up to this Will Smith Chris Rock incident. There's a few things I didn't say in the previous video. One thing that I wanted to comment on was the fact that Chris Rock, to his credit, was very composed afterwards. I think that, when you saw the video, it sort of looked like he was laughing. He sort of maybe thought that Smith was going to do some sort of joke, like pretend to yell at him or something, but I think it's obvious he didn't expect to be struck like that. But he was composed afterwards, he just kind of kept talking. He was the presenter, actually. So you have to give him credit for that sort of composure, even if the joke was in bad taste. Um, but there's all sorts of debates going on about this one. And I don't want to talk just about this. I want to expand a little bit. Um, BBC's got a report, and I've just been looking at it, whereby they're quoting. Let me just get this correct. It's quite a lengthy report talking about. Yeah, he Smith recently had a book published. I don't know if it was semi-biographical or philosophical or what, but psychologist and minister Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, who's read Smith's book but has not treated the actor personally, said she wishes Smith was able to turn to another way to protect his family. Something happened where he did not live the will he wants to live. That can happen to any of us, she said. He doesn't want to be the person who slapped somebody around like his dad slapped somebody around, but yet that is what happened last night. The altercation between Smith and Rock broke through the veneer of perfection that often exists around celebrities, but Lewis said we should use it as a moment to interrogate how normalized violence has become in our culture. Um, there is another update. Smith has now directly apologized, or well, via Twitter to Rock, whereas initially he, in his tearful acceptance speech, he apologized to the Academy and others, but not to Chris Rock. Um, what I want to focus on, though, is this issue about men and violence. Particularly, there are violent women, of course. That shouldn't be ignored, but it is definitely more a domain of men, and I think that it warrants a lot of scrutiny. You know, over a year ago, we were hearing a lot about the need for men to step up in the UK to protect women, but it was never really scrutinized what this means. Um, that was coming at a time when a number of young women had been murdered by men in the UK. And there was this issue about men needing to step up. It kind of ignores the fact that most men don't hurt women and would not turn a blind eye if they saw a woman being attacked in public. There is something I think very inbuilt in human society that still, even now, despite all that the West has been through third wave feminism and wokery and all the rest of it, there's still something very fundamental about men being protectors and women being the protected. Um, we can look at also to expand this even more, how men need to stay and fight in war situations, Ukraine being a prime example, and it's women and children who leave. Um, but I think, there's a lot of things to look at because it's a very important issue. Um, Young men especially. Now, Will Smith and Chris Rock are middle-aged men. They're now both, as I understand, in their early 50s. But young men especially, there is a lot of ego involved. Um, and most guys, I think, have a basic protective instinct. I do. I'm not going to lie. If I am with my girlfriend and I'm going through a street and someone shouts out something at us, um, I admit I would find that hard to let go. I would remonstrate with them. And I am more likely to do so with my girl, not because I want to show off, but because I'm more likely to feel protective of her than I would of myself. Like with myself, I'll be angry. I'll think, what the hell? Like, I don't know this person. Why are they shouting things at me? With my girl, it's even more a sense of I need to protect. Um, but there's a very big difference, I think, between a street altercation versus lashing out at a comedian. Now, no matter how in bad taste Rock's joke was, it was a joke, and I think that was the context. He posed no physical threat. He posed no physical threat, and this is the point that makes Smith's actions wrong. It's not like they were going some streets after the ceremony, and a gang of muggers tried to attack them, and Smith naturally wanted to defend his woman. That's very different. Women defending Smith, I would question what their philosophy is on this, because they're saying he done the right thing. He stepped up as a man. Well, is that what women mean by men need to step up? Or what some women mean, I should say? Um, all these questions need to be explored. That's why this is more than just another piece of celebrity gossip. I think there are implications in it. Um, as a general rule, I am against violence. I'm not a pacifist. I'm definitely not a pacifist. But I think, generally speaking, violence should be a last resort. Now, I draw a line. There are certain circumstances where you simply have to defend yourself and a more vulnerable person. You just have to, because if you don't, I mean, I don't think there's anything honorable about letting someone hurt your girlfriend or your wife and not doing anything about it. But that is not a situation of male ego, that's a situation of necessity, right? To contrast that, I was recently watching Dangerous Minds, the Michelle Pfeiffer film, and there's a scene in that, if you know the film, one of the main characters, a guy called Emilio, he's sort of the tough guy in the class. He's kind of the has an influence on the other members of the class. And if you know the film, basically she goes into this school in San Francisco, San Mateo actually, and it's kind of they're tough kids. They all come from broken homes. They've all got problems. And this guy Emilio, played by the actor Wade Dominguez, who died young actually, or Wade Rodriguez, I think his name was. He was only 32 when he died. Very strong performances from the young actors. But anyway, he's kind of the one she really wants to get through to, because he's the big influence on the class. And basically, in the film, there's a guy that wants to kill him, as the other guy wants his girlfriend and believes that she belongs to him. So Emilio's saying the only way to stop this happening is if he kills the other guy first. And as a teacher, she's saying, no, this is crazy. Don't, you need to report him to the police. You need to do all these things. And it's a good little insight into the ego of young men, particularly in that sort of community, that sort of society where, in his case, he comes from a broken home. Um, and the sad thing in the film is he actually does go to seek help from the head teacher, and he's turned away because he didn't knock the door. It's a sad ending. Um, but that's an example. Now, this guy is crazy. He wants to kill him because he wants his girlfriend, and um, it makes you wonder how would you address that situation as a guy? How would I address it? I'd probably go to the police, but um, who knows? I mean, I believe I could fight like a tiger if I had to defend my girlfriend, and I'm not making myself out to be a tough guy. I'm not, but there is something. There's just a very, very um, primordial, if that's the right word, instinct of protection. Um, men are expected to be protected, and women are the protected. Women, of course, nowadays, particularly in this modern world, they take self-defense classes. A lot of women probably can defend themselves, but the fact of the matter is, the average male is physically stronger than the average female. That's just biology. You can't argue with it. Now, a woman she could have taken self-defense classes. She could have spray, to deter sexual predators. But ultimately, there is a fundamental thing in that. That's why male violence against women is a much, much bigger taboo as opposed to female violence against men. Um, but there are some violent women, and there's been examples of male victims of domestic violence. So I think we need to get away from this idea that women are not capable of being very violent as well. and including against other women. Now, in reviewing my videos the other day, I came across an old one that I made, and there's an interesting question. If another man is posing the threat, that's quite clear cut. You just defend her. You fight him or you protect her. That's clear cut. What if the threat comes from another woman? As an example, you are on a train late at night, you're walking home, and you get a group of drunk women, okay? And one of them just starts getting into verbal abuse, say it might be racist, right? I've had girlfriends of Asian descent. So let's say you get a situation like that, and then the drunk woman gets violent because believe me, drunk women can be a nightmare. They're absolutely, especially in this country. That culture, in my opinion, is just as toxic as lad culture. Now, should a man say, "Oh, I better not do anything because they're women," or should he step up and do something? I'm not saying he should punch the woman out, but honestly, if a drunk woman was to, try and attack my girlfriend, I would hold her back. I would do something, not necessarily punch her, but yeah, I would be forced into a situation where I would have to be physical. People need to consider situations like this. They need to consider situations like this. Um, anyway, I'm going to wrap this up soon, but this whole incident, because it did come down to a woman's honor. This wasn't like Will Smith just doesn't like Chris Rock and the two men have some sort of feud over, oh, over money or something. This was down to a woman's honor. So it gets into that question. I think part of it is American society is desensitized to violence. I didn't see the video, but Jimmy Kimmel's already making a big sketch about it. People are laughing about it. But assault is assault, and people have died from single punches, single strikes. So it's not a trivial matter. And I do think American society is desensitized to violence. So that's an important issue. Will Smith, of course, he's often played tough guys in his films, Bad Boys and Ali and things like that. He's basically an alpha male. So is he sending out the best message with this? Now, I think he himself knows that he went too far because he's apologized twice. Um, I think, even leaving aside this incident, which was very public, as a broader question, where is the red line? I would argue there are times that you have to act, you have to get physical, but it should be a last resort. Now, people shouting out something in the street, I think they're scum. I think people who do that to strangers have serious issues, and I think that they are, you know, um, I think there needs to be a lot more done to tackle that sort of mindset that people think they could just insult strangers like that. But does that warrant a physical situation? I think your human instinct. I mean, put it this way: last August, I was minding my own business and some guys shouting things out at me, absolutely no reason, and it pissed me right off. Nothing happened, but believe me, I wanted to go back and basically lay into them. I was furious because I'm thinking two reasons. They don't know me, what the hell? And B, I'd had previous experience with gangs, so whenever something like that happens, it's like a flashback. Um, Nothing happened. I didn't act on it because the common sense side took over. There was the anger, but then there was the common sense side. I can't take on a group. I could get seriously hurt. If it was one guy, I might well have went back. What would I have done? I don't know. Would I have verbally confronted him? Would I have just punched him? And then what happens? What if I punch the guy? He falls back and he hits his head on the side of the road. I can't say, oh, well, he started it because he was calling me names. That's why it's so, so important not to let our egos overtake. And it's not easy when, you know, someone starts a confrontation. This is why practical jokes or mouthing off at someone is so, so stupid because you don't know what sort of background the other person has had. You don't know that you're not provoking someone who has a dark history, who has had problems in the past. That's why, you get it on YouTube, these jokers that think it's cool to just mess up someone's day, a total stranger. I think, I think they're scum, to be quite honest, because there's nothing funny about that, when it's done to a total stranger, and um, I think it's a really scummy thing to do. So, in conclusion, it's a combination of things. What does it mean to be a man? What are the red lines? Self control, honor, all of these things, they all come into it. Let me know your thoughts.